So this is my nuts challenge recap. Alright guys, so we are back with another video. Just raced the Nuts Challenge Winter Edition. So I did the sprint lap, which typically can be the most competitive race, especially at winter. No one really wants to go longer than one because it just gets a bit too cold. This is a 7k lap. I'll put my Strava up here so you can see how far it was. It was about 4.5 miles, I believe. Today we're going to recap through the race, tell you how I feel, go through some videos, and we'll go from there. The start of the race, they kept us in the start line for quite long, so my warm-up felt like it didn't really matter because we were standing around for a little bit. I think they were waiting for marshals and things to get ready. So they kind of put us straight away into some obstacles, which caused a bit of a bottleneck. As you can see, the first obstacle we hit was the balance beam. My balance beam was awful. I think as it was the first obstacle, I was a little bit rusty. I wasn't as warm. You can see Darren sprinting off there, Barry sprinting off. Then we hit some walls, and then it's onto the Weaver. Now the problem with the Weaver is, especially this early on in the race, once you get near people, it gets really hard to get into your rhythm, because you'll see me here going through, then having to stop, then go again, whereas I can't get into that rhythm. I know Darren, who I train with at Rumble, who ran off nice and quick, got out and managed to make a bit of a gap early on, just because of his Weaver. You see here, once Weaver are done, I have a little bit of a slip, and then it's back to business, getting on my running. You can see me start to just push that running stride out after this wall. So my only real thoughts from the start of the race and how the kind of race panned out was that a bottleneck was not needed. I think it'd be nicer if we could run kind of a little bit longer, even only 100, 200 meters longer, just so people can really get a sprint on, rather than having us kind of sprint and then that was like the first thing, bang, stopping at a balance beam. So after we hit the balance beam, not too long after that, we hit the mid rig. So this is not a high rig like your normal high rig, it's a little bit lower, so you really have to focus on trying to keep the legs up. As you can see, it was all muscles. So this is me and Barry going through it. Now Nuts put in a band system this time as well, so every time you completed one of their mandatory obstacles like this one, you had to collect the bands. You'll see at the end of this video, me and Barry both ran off and then the marshal called us back for our bands. Good job they were there. Rachel, you were there, thanks for that. Yeah, it was getting a little bit annoying forgetting and then having to come back to get your bands, but if that's the system they put in place as racers, we just need to follow that. So at this point, me and Barry are just behind Darren and Sam. They got a nice little lead after that balance beam and Weaver section, and then we were just closing them down. So after this rig, I haven't got any footage, but you go in pretty much straight into the technical area where all the technical obstacles are. So you start with some rings, you then go on to, I believe, a low rig, and then it was a high rig, and then you're up into their like pipe onto the cargo net. As I got to the top of the cargo net, I see Barry coming out, I'm coming out, I can see Darren's head, so we started to catch him through that section, and then I can see Sam just at the end. So I was like, right, okay, we put a bit of a shift in, we're now gaining on him. I think my obstacles were quite quick through there as well, so that helped us catch. But yeah, then the four of us got nice and close and we performed a little bit of a pack. So from there we ran out into the woods, we were kind of all battling each other. Not too long after that section, you ended up hitting the Piccolo Rig, named after Shipley's cat. So we hit the Piccolo Rig, which was quite fun. It was a new rig they had out. You started on ladders. I'll try and find some footage from somewhere. I know I didn't get any footage of me doing it. It's quite a cool rig, so I'll show it somewhere here. Basically, it was a rope ladder onto a high rig, onto a mid rig, onto a low rig. So I went through all three. They were just monkey bars. So it wasn't necessarily hard. It was just a bit taxing because it was quite long. After that, I started to put a little bit more of a shift in through the woods and try and drop some of the people. Then we got to the tyre carry, and as you can see here, we get onto the tyre carry. I'm running all right. I was in first, and then Darren just puts an absolute shift in to get past me. Surges early. I kind of get onto the back of him because I was like, I don't want him to get away. And then you can see Sam's just behind him and Barry's just behind him. So we're still all quite close. That anyone can win this race at this point. This is probably around, I want to say 3k in, under halfway, but close to halfway. After the tyre carry, I stuck around in that pack for a little bit, looked at my watch and realised we weren't really running that quick, and I knew from training and from what I've been doing, even at my current fitness, which I wouldn't say is great at the moment, I had a little bit more to give. So I decided just to start to put the pressure on and started just to get away from them, already forming a bit of a gap. And you can see when we get to the rope traverse, I'm the first person on this rope traverse, traversing through. And I tried to just get through it as quick as possible. I knew if I can get through there's a field afterwards from running this race before that if I could put my foot down in that field, which is what I did, I could start to make a gap. So I went through that field. I think I was running low 6 pace, maybe creeping into the 5s, but I just thought, get the head down, work hard, get this done. So I managed to make a nice little gap through there. After that, you had like tyre carries, you had loads of streams to go through, water crossings, loads of different obstacles. And if you've done nuts before, you've probably seen them. But yeah, winter nuts as well, especially, it gets nice and cold. There's a lot of water in that next section, so you're constantly in and out. And I thought the whole time, just keep moving, try and make a gap. I feel like once I got out ahead, this gap stayed relatively the same. I wasn't really sure, obviously, what was going on behind me, but I knew every time I looked back, I could see one of them about the same distance all the time. They were swapping and changing. As you can see, we get to the tyre drag and I'm on my own. Run it in, pull nice and quick, and then running into the finish. I know the finish is soon, so you can see me there just running in, and I think it was Barry coming in next after that. This next bit of footage is from UK OCR. They did a little interview with me afterwards and they put it on their most recent podcast. So go check that out. I'll put their link in the description as well, but credit to them following the race. So this is kind of the home stretch now, the last few obstacles. You can see I've got a bit of a lead going over into the bits of wood, cruising through there. I'm just trying to maintain movement, keep that lead because I don't want to lose it. So we go through there, you hit the tyres, and then we're into the water. And you can see I'm still moving quick, but I kind of know at this point I've got this in the bag if I just keep moving forward and don't fall off anything. I still had the ladder monkey bars and the low rig to go. So as long as I didn't fall off them, I was good. So we keep working through, and this is a good point to kind of see what happens behind me here, because you can see me just finishing off the wall, and then you've got Darren just starting to come into picture. Now, what he told me after the race, he was coming into the tyres about 4th, and he kind of put his foot down through the tyres, managed to get in front of them all, and then just went through on the obstacles. Yeah, all in all, I managed to get the win, managed to survive my first race of the season, give me some good motivation, made me a bit more hungry to get back to training as well, which is always good. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this race recap, and I'll see you in the next one.